Hello and welcome to Autology, the podcast that brings you the latest automotive technology. My name is Sascha Klapper, your host, Research Analysis Manager for Lighting and Interiors at S&P Global Mobility. Today's episode is titled Bright Ideas, the Future of Automotive Lighting. You know, the automotive lighting industry is really going through an exciting transformation right now, with all the advancement in technology and the evolving expectations of consumers. We're seeing a big shift towards more innovation, personalized lighting solution, especially in electric vehicles. Manufacturers are really stepping up their game, using lighting as a key way to stand out and make their cars more appealing. One of the most coolest trends we're seeing is the rise of smart lighting system. These aren't just about looking good, they are designed to enhance safety and improve the overall driving experience. Technologies like adaptive driving beam and dynamic lighting functions are becoming more common, making it possible for lights to adapt on the fly. And let's not forget about ground projection technology. They're opening new ways for vehicles to communicate with each other and with pedestrians, and add a new stylish touch to the look. Sustainability is also a hot topic in the industry. Manufacturers are really focused on reducing their environmental footprint by designing more efficient lighting solutions that use less energy. Today, we'll dive into these trends and take a closer look at how different regions, particularly China and Europe, are leading the way in automotive lighting innovation. To help us to explore this fascinating evolution of lighting technologies, we have two special guests with us. Steffen Pietzonka, the head of global marketing for lighting at Forvia Hella, and Paul-Henri Matha, the CEO and editor of Driving Vision News. Welcome, Steffen, and welcome, Paul-Henri.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Nice to have you here with us. I would say let's jump right in and don't lose a lot of time. Steffen, China is really stepping up as leader in the lighting innovation. The recent Shanghai Automotive Show showcased some impressive advancement in automotive lighting. What caught your eyes the most, and how do you think this show will shape the future of the industry?
Yeah, so maybe Auto Shanghai is already shaping the future as Auto Shanghai has become the major global automotive trade show. So we see this with regards to exhibitor showcasing their innovations, huge number, the area, what they are really using as a trade show, and the huge interest from the media as well as from the industry. The to me impressed really much the huge number of Chinese vehicles presented. So we have design wise seen really nice looking cars, progressive, interesting styled cars. So and also all the major lighting trends like slim contours, pixelation, and displays are majorly touched.
Paul-Henri, what do you think about the automotive show in Shanghai?
So I fully agree with Stefan. So first, I was in Shanghai Auto Show last month. I spent 5 full days in the exhibition. Compared to IAA in Germany, I was only 1 day, and compared to CES, perhaps 2, 3 days. Then in 5 days, you have just the time to visit all the car makers and all the lighting players. And about my impression about the show, what impressed me really is the quality of the execution of the lamp and what we call in our engineering language or design language, the perceived quality. What was poorly executed in the past is now totally similar to Europe and sometimes better. So that shows a really fast evolution of customer expectation in China and also the high level of skills in China. And we can see also a lot of new lighting applications. So lamps is not only a shape, it's not only a component, it is a function. So you play video with the lamp, you play gaming, you interact with the driver and other road users. So we see a lot of application like displays, so what we call interactive signaling displays. You can use a lot of different technology like mini LED, micro LED. It is totally new in automotive industry. We do not really see this technology in Europe and US, but you see it in China.
Well, that's fascinating. Thank you both for your answer and impressions about the Shanghai Auto Show. Let me ask you the next questions. Now, for a long time, we've seen actually European OEMs, specifically the German premium OEMs, dominating the lighting industry or bringing the innovation to the lighting industry. What do you think is causing the dynamic shift towards Chinese OEMs?
Yeah, so if I just look on the timeline of lighting innovations in automotive lighting, then we can see majorly or primarily German OEMs have brought innovations to the market, be it xenon, be it dynamic lighting, be it really new functionalities. So all the premium German OEMs have really driven lighting, and they've used lighting as a factor for differentiation of their brands. So there was always a high interest for these new technologies, and lighting was considered for all premium players as a major branding element. So next to the advancements in safety solutions, so actually Western OEMs are in major transformation phase. And the new players, especially from China, they need to position their cars. And lighting, they've encountered and using this as an opportunity for differentiation, both technology-wise, but also styling-wise.
Yeah, actually, I agree on that, and I actually would like to highlight also in Europe there are a lot of, I would call it actually legacy OEMs. They bring a long legacy with him, and also with the legacy some customer expectations there, expectations on the design, expectations on attributes, features, technologies. I mean, just to mention BMW, Mercedes, but also GLR. I mean, they all bring a heritage there with well-known models. And when we look actually to China at the moment, we see a lot of new brands appearing to the market, a lot of battery electric brands. They have completely more freedom. They don't have any more customer expectations, or let's say legacy customer expectations. We see that they're completely free to position themselves new on the market. I mean, it's not only seen in China. I mean, if you look at Seat, for example, with the Cupra concept, or also Audi with bringing a new Audi brand in China, Jaguar repositioning and rethinking its portfolio. But in any case, I mean, I see that the legacy brings a lot of limitation also about some really advanced lighting designs. Well, with that, I think we're already quite good into the topic. And it's really interesting to see how the landscape is changing there. I would like to move on and would like to have a bit closer look on safety, which should be actually the primarily role in lighting, especially with technology like ADB. What does innovation in lighting mean for you? Is it more towards design or more towards safety, in speaking in modern terms?
It's really depend about the market, because, for example, in Europe, safety has always been the main topic for lighting, and xenon was very important, as mentioned by Stefan, and ADB is really important for all the German OEM and also other OEM in Europe. But in China, most of the drivers they are in cities, in Shanghai or in Beijing. They do not really need ADB, so they do not really need a high beam with very high performance. But in the same time, we can see that all the Chinese OEM, and especially the new EV commerce, they put a lot of effort in design technology for lighting. And not only design, but also user experience. So then they use the ADB technology, or they use the technology available with ADB to be able to do other functions. So they do gaming, they do welcome scenario with HD technology they have available. And I was discussing with Huawei, for example, on Aito M9. They have a take rate of ADB solution, HD technology, at 80%. And for example, they can deliver every month or every 3 months some new release with new software update, with new gaming proposal, new video with the lamp. And they said me that 80% of the customer, they download with over the years this new software. They are really fan and they really want to have this new function. And then, for example, for the Chinese New Year, they said me that more than 100,000 people uploaded the new software with a new Easter egg, I would say, with new video with the lamps.
Yeah, I mean, I see there's a lot of innovation happening, and then especially if you're looking at this user experience with lighting. But I personally think we should still focus on putting actually the safety first and lighting. But I completely understand lighting now is leaving actually also the classical headlamp and tail lamp. I mean, now we're seeing also all these projection technologies. And also, I think there's also a shift from the signaling lamps. Actually, we don't have anymore this classic DRL design. I mean, now we're seeing actually that the grill is illuminated. DRL have a complete different shape, also leaving the headlamp. Logos are illuminated. I mean, these are all features actually which are changing now. But anyhow, I mean, I think the safety should still play a crucial role on that. But by the way, I mean, right now we're already on the topic. How do you see the ground projection technology evolving in the coming years?
Yeah, so I think ground projections are one of these interesting areas where we will see new innovations coming in the next year. So generally speaking, we will see changes with lighting around the vehicle, be it in the front, in the rear, in the side. So ground projections generally indicating a projected brand logo while opening the door, or some light carpets next to the vehicle. Static or dynamic images are already there and will further evolve. And they are part of some kind of personalization and brand differentiation. So it really becomes interesting with regards to safety, if safety relevant projections are also on the road, and they will come, of course, and that they have some kind of safety advantage. This is really proven already by several studies, like, for example, from Darmstadt University. So there are several use cases where it makes sense to indicate that there is a car when it is not visible with an intended, for example, turning direction, so that the turn indicator is even visible even if the vehicle that not directly is being seen. So, for example, if it's hidden behind a bus or a truck or so. So here we are expecting really advantages with these kind of functionalities, but also legislatory wise, we need to observe when these functionalities will reach the market. So therefore, I'm expecting a lot from ground projections, yeah. But of course, we have to deal here with the respective use cases for daytime, nighttime. Yeah, so especially these use cases are primarily useful in nighttime situations because it's really challenging in sunlight to project something on top. Yeah, so therefore, first we see advantages in the respective nighttime use cases, and I'm really curious about what will come in the future.
Yeah, I mean, you're completely right on that. And I mean, when we're looking, what I see, I mean, we are actually making a difference between different projection areas. I mean, when you look actually at the side projection, we see there's a really strong growing market happening at the moment. And it's not about paddle lights. I mean, we're talking really about logo projection, carpet projection. We're talking about welcome scenario, to have a nice animation once you approach your car. So that we see that's really growing quickly, and it's not only a matter of being premium OEM or not being premium OEM. I mean, we see it actually across all segments, all vehicle segments, that they're applying side projection. Actually, when it comes to the front projection, we see there also a solid growing market in there. But what we see there is still a question mark. First of all, what is the technology behind the front projection? Are we talking about micro LED? Are we talking about DMD technology? So, I mean, what we see at the moment, this is mainly used at the moment still with premium brands, but I see it's also coming slowly down to volume brands and hitting actually the mainstream. While, I mean, the major markets for that is Europe and China. And as Steffen said already before, I mean, for when we're looking at the rear projection, I mean, there we still have also to observe closely the legislation around the rear projection. I mean, I think in general it needs also a balance between a lot of cars projecting things on the street that there will be not a street full of projections and nobody knows anymore what is projection on the ground. I think we also need still there to find a common way how to address this problem.
Yeah. I would like to add also that there is two different things. There is lighting projection. So you have already light, you have already a low beam, and then you need to project additional things. So this is what we call lighting projection. And then you have the signaling projection. And what we know, when you want to do lighting projection, you need a module with around 1000, 2000 lumens. So it is quite a big beam. So it is something expensive. But when you go to signaling projection, you need to have only 100 to 200 lumen to have it visible on the road by night. If it is visible by day, it is another story, but we can see that signaling projection is much more cheaper. And then you can have very simple solution. It was shown in the auto show in different booths. I was at Forvia Hella booth. I was at Marelli booth. You can see this signaling projection that it is really coming. And as you perhaps know, in China, it will be possible to have it on the car from July 1st, this signaling projection with turn indicator, reversing lamp. And in Europe, it will come in 2026. It has been decided in April in Geneva, so it will come. So due to regulation, new possibilities, I'm sure it will come, because as you mentioned just before, you really increase safety in some use cases, as already shown by different studies and universities.
Yeah, now we're already in the topic in projection technologies. I mean, micro LED and DMD, they are two of the most popular technology for projection technologies. What do you think will lead the market actually in the future?
Yes, indeed. DMD technology is something quite old, because it appears, I think, 6-7 years ago on Audi and Mercedes first, and after you have it on Volvo, on Range Rover, and other cars. But the main drawback for this was the performance of the ADB, because the field of view, especially the width, was not enough, and then to have a good ADB performance, this was not enough, and then we developed the micro LED technology to have something better. But the resolution of the micro LED technology is a bit lower. Today we have only between 16,000 chip to 25,000, and then the resolution is not enough. And in China, what they do not need to have a good ADB. It is what we said before. They need to have a very good resolution to be able to do videos and animation. And that's why in China, for the moment, and it is what you see with Aito, it is what you see with BYD, they prefer the DMD technology. And in Europe, we prefer the micro LED technology to have better ADB performance. That's why, for the moment, what I see, it will be 50-50. We will see both technology in the market. And then, in the same time, micro LED suppliers, they improve the resolution of their chip to go from 20,000 LEDs to perhaps 100,000 LEDs to be able to improve the resolution. And it is also what we have seen in the Shanghai Auto Show. It was a new partnership between Valeo and Appotronics. For example, Valeo has only the HD technology with micro LED. That they said, okay, we can propose with Appotronics also the DMD technology. So you see that it is not a unique technology. You have different technology available on the market, and it will continue for years.
Yeah, I would agree to that. Yeah, so it's really the question of the use case, and I see also that it will depend on markets. It will depend on cultures. So it's really the question, if you want to have the highest pixelation for watching a video, then DMD with millions of pixels might be the respective solution. Yeah, so it's really the question which culture. So I think there's more demand in China for watching videos in a car. So yeah, I'm doubt a bit, yeah, that here in Europe customers will sit in the car and watch a video. So therefore, but maybe it might change in the future. But it's really the question, what is the real use case? So, and of course, if you're looking of the developments of the matrix LEDs, so starting with 25 pixels and then later 84 and so on and so on. So this is really something with a miniaturization of LED. It really makes sense to increase also the number of pixels. But always we should ask as the industry ourselves what really makes sense. So for some kind of additional information for the driver, guiding lines, respective symbol projections in the driving lane or highlighting the driving lanes. These kind of things, of course, can be done with either or. But as said, yeah, it's really the question on what is the real use case and what is maybe the right strategy for an OEM to put that into perspective of the different cars. Yeah, so you need to have some kind of I would say, option strategy, respectively. So therefore, really, an intense discussion with the OEM is required, yeah, to find the sweet spot between a resolution, a use case, and technology.
Thank you both for your answer on this. I would like to shift a bit the discussion. I mean, we've been talking quite a lot about European OEMs, about Chinese OEMs, and their approach towards lighting, of course. How do you see North American OEMs in this context?
So US are always been more conservative, I think, for two main reasons. So first, it is regulation. So there is no so evolution in the regulation is very limited. So for example, it took 20 years to have ADB allowed in US, and it is allowed from 2 years now. And nothing is really clear about the protection possibilities, what we just discussed before, about the well consequence. It is not regulated, so you take a risk if you want to do a nice lighting feature. So you hesitate, and then perhaps you will not go. And the second is that there is no evident supply chain in US. You have no big lighting players in US. Most of the technology is coming from Europe and Japan, so it is not really pushed by the US industry to innovate in lighting. So it is changing a bit because Magna, they bought some European company, and then now they have a lighting skills. Flex and Gate, they also grow. But most of the players are conservative because they have not the technology. Also, what we can see in US that the big market is for trucks like Ford 150 or SUV like Toyota RAV4, and the lighting content in these cars, they are quite cheap. You have no ADB, you have no premium technology. But what we see in parallel is that with the new EV makers like Rivian, Lucid, Tesla, they put a lot of money now in lighting technology. And then we can see that the legacy OEM like GM, Chrysler, like so Dodge Charger, Cadillac Celestiq, Cadillac Lyric, they put now a lot of effort in design and especially lighting design. So it is changing, but it is a bit slowly.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think, especially if you look at the Cadillac Lyric, I think it was one of the first one from the American legacy OEMs which put the more exciting lighting design on their vehicle. Because I mean, what I see is actually that North American OEMs they never had actually really exciting lighting design in the past, and also even if you look actually about the LED adoption in the past, we saw quite a lot of models still with halogen headlamps, while other regions already had a much higher take rate of LEDs. And yeah, I mean, of course, not to mention also the ADB discussion. It took quite a long time until we saw it legal on North American streets. But yeah, I mean, I think it's changing something there lately, as you mentioned. I mean, also Rivian. We were talking before quite a lot about Chinese, new EV brands. I mean, also in America we have a new EV brand, Rivian, and I think also this has a much more exciting lighting design there. So I think it's changing slowly, but overall, I mean, I think lighting was never really the definition for US car models. Yeah, but let's see where it's going. Yeah, I mean, at the end, I would like to put the focus also a bit on one of the biggest buzzwords also recently. And I mean, I'm not talking about lighting only. I mean, sustainability. I mean, we hear it almost for everything lately. So I would also like to bring it up here in the discussion, and would like to discuss actually how the lighting industry is addressing the sustainability and looking how they are reducing the environmental impact.
Yeah, so sustainability, no question, we all have to deal with it. So we are describing it under the framework of using less, using better, and using longer. And this already shows the direction in where we have to think. We have to use less materials, we have to use it better, or better materials, biomaterials, and we have to use it longer. So if I'm looking to the repairability of old headlights, maybe in the 50s and 60s, that was gone due to the respective styling requirements, due to the respective technologies integrated in the headlamp. So therefore, we have to rethink how we are designing and developing lighting products. And also what's very important, the majority of the CO2 emissions occur during operation of lighting fixtures, so during driving while consuming energy. So therefore, the intelligent control of the energy consumption is really important and can contribute to a respective reduction of CO2. But also repairability, reusability, as just said, is really important. So recently at Auto Shanghai, we've presented a respective approach how we can balance today's high styling requirements on one side, which is preventing to some extent the usage of sustainable solutions, but it is possible to combine sustainable approaches with respective design requirements. And all this, of course, and this is very important, should be cost neutral, because whatever we are doing, whatever we are adding, so if we are introducing new materials, usually they are more expensive. But if we are integrating clever product concepts for maybe reducing parts which are not necessary, so to design really respectively towards sustainability, then it is possible to design a product which is sustainable and even cost neutral. And maybe in the mid or long term, even might show potential for even reducing the costs, and then it would be a win-win.
Yeah, actually, you say that. I think one of the biggest question marks is still about the costs of sustainable solutions. I mean, I think nobody really wants to spend additional money at the moment to have more sustainable headlamps or tail lamps. And also, what I see that OEMs are still not really interested about this kind of solutions, and I think that the entire thing, the sustainability thing, will be actually mainly driven also by legislation. I don't think really it will be only driven by OEMs deciding to have a more sustainable model. I think there we should really carefully observe all the legislation around that. I mean, feasible solutions are already on the market. I mean, we see already feasible solutions. I mean, I think that the question mark is around, yeah, when it will start hitting the market, when we will see the first sustainable headlamps and also tail lamps in there.
Yes, we should not mix also the cost for the car makers and the cost for the final customer, because today what we see with lamps, as already said by Stefan, you cannot repair your lamp. You have a LED failure and then you have to change everything. And the average cost for a new headlamp when you want to replace this is more than €1,000 today. So we receive a lot of claims also for final customers that it is too expensive. So we have to think totally differently to be able to do some lamp design that are with possibilities to exchange a light source, to exchange some components. And it is already done by some companies. Toyota, for example, they use a lot of light source that you can replace. Volvo Trucks, also the truck makers, they presented in DVN their strategy to have exchangeable light source in this sort of cases. And we have seen also that, for example, Stellantis now they have opened a new plant for remanufacturing headlamp for aftermarket, and then they said that they reduced drastically the cost of this aftermarket component. So this is quite important, and for me it is a revolution in how we design a lamp, because today what we design is totally not repairable, and then you cannot do anything.
All right, thank you. I would like just to move to another area. Personalized vehicle lighting is a really exciting trend. I think we already discussed it more early. How is the ability to customize both interior and exterior lighting influencing what the driver wants on their vehicles?
Yeah, so I think personalization of vehicle interior lighting, we see it already since years, and it's established. Yeah, so you can adjust the ambient light color of your car interior to hundreds or even thousands of different colors. But honestly speaking, the question is really on how often it is really used. So usually, if people are adjusting the light to own preference, then they keep it somehow. So that means we need to make the light intelligent. So even today, we have the interior lights, yes, more or less static or dynamic to adjust it via the HMI. But it stays on individual color preferences. So if we go to smart lights, which automatically adapts to different driving scenarios, and we are using light, and color as an additional communication channel, then we are coming to really new solutions. And that is really important to further increase safety. Yeah? So if you're opening a car, your door, while getting off or intending to get off the car, and the vehicle has detected a vehicle approaching from the back, then a flashing red light is warning you to not open the door. So this is really adding additional safety. The more the car understands individual preferences based on different data, health parameters, maybe in the future, it can adapt the lights. And in addition to these kind of automatic adaptation of light to own preferences, of course, there are opportunities for changing the look of the car with individual daytime running lights. So the signature, so which shows already the direction in which we are going of a software-defined vehicle and the new potential, maybe also with new business models that end consumers are able to change the look of the car. So we really need to observe and how often they are using it, and how this kind of feature is finally adopted by the end consumer. So I think the technology is there to use it, but we need to observe the market and the consumer.
Yes, what is a bit difficult also is to know exactly if customers they really want it or not, and you have to design it before you freeze the design of the car. So what you propose will be frozen for the 5-10 years. You cannot really change it when you have the car. You have no aftermarket solution for that. But we have seen in parallel at Xiaomi, for example, in China, they have developed a lot of things for aftermarket. So you can add some lamps in the chassis, for example, to do the welcome light. So you have these possibilities also not only by software, but also by hardware to customize a bit later your product and to change also and update your car with new functionalities. So it is something that we have to think about, because today we think about just personalization with software, but you can also think about personalization is hardware with modification later during the second life of the car. And it is a business that you can think about it because there is a big potential.
Great, thank you. Unfortunately, we are almost out of time. A big thank you to both of you, Steffen from Forvia Hella and Paul-Henri from DVN, for joining our Autology podcast. And thank you for all you listeners for tuning in as well. We'd love to hear your thoughts on today's episode at our autology@spglobal.com email, and you can find also much more about Autology, about our Autology podcast on autotechinsight.ihsmarket.com. Don't forget to hit all the subscribe, follow, and like buttons to stay on track with the latest Autology podcasts, and we look forward for see you joining again our podcast. Thank you.